Hi viewers, this is Dr. Allaiba Saleem from Panacea Institute, CSS PMS Multan. Here with us we have Sajeel Ahmad. He got 27th position in Pakistan in CSS exam 2020 and joined Foreign Service of Pakistan. So today we will talk about the calamities flood brought here in our country. So Sir Sajeel, can you tell about the recent floods going on in our country? Are floods inevitable?
So firstly, thank you for having me. Floods indeed are inevitable in Pakistan. We have seen this year that Pakistan has witnessed the largest rainfall in 3 decades. And due to the phenomenon of climate change and how climate change is evolving around the world, I certainly believe that Pakistan will continue to face floods, flash floods, and they might be even more deadlier in the coming years. We have seen that Pakistan is warming up along with other countries, and whenever the atmosphere warms up, the downpours are more intense. So I do believe that floods are inevitable in Pakistan and the rest of the world as well.
All right. Please inform the viewers how much damage the recent floods have caused in Pakistan.
So these floods, they were extremely deadly in Pakistan, and they caused havoc in various domains. They caused around 1100 plus deaths. More than 1600 people have been injured as of now. More than 750,000 livestock has been drowned in these floods. Apart from this, approximately 325,000 houses have been completely washed away by these floods, and 733 houses, as per the United Nations, they have been damaged. And we have seen that, as per the Minister for Climate Change, she recently mentioned that 1 in 7 people in Pakistan are displaced because of the floods, and about 33% of the country is submerged in flood water. So you can easily recognize the level of havoc that has been caused by these deadly floods.
So it's really alarming?
Yes, definitely.
So this suggests that almost the entire country is dealing with floods.
Absolutely.
Okay. So why it rained so heavily in our country? What were the reasons behind this?
So for this, I'll take you back to your first question.
Yes, sir.
It rained heavily, number one, due to the climate change and due to the erratic rainfall patterns that are now associated with climate change. So Pakistan, I told you earlier that Pakistan witnessed the largest rainfall in 3 decades.
Yes, sir.
And just to cite one example, there is this one particular site in Sindh. It received around 1300 millimeters of rain as compared to a monthly average of 46 millimeters. So you can easily recognize the difference that the rainfall is creating. And why it rained heavily? I believe it has to do with the rainfall patterns, it has to do with climate change. And why it resulted in flash floods? I believe it has to do with the inability of our country to be prepared, especially after the aftermath of the flood in 2010, and due to the excessive deforestation and the urbanization. And lastly, not to forget the emissions that are done by the developed countries and the role that they play in the climate change in the underdeveloped countries, especially in this particular region. So it has to do with a lot of factors that contribute ultimately towards the increase in rainfall in the country.
Yes, sir. So don't you think improper policymaking was the main hurdle behind this? The policymakers?
Well, I do believe that it was one of the factors, but not the entire blame should be put on the policy planning. Okay. Because as I mentioned earlier, when you get a rainfall that is 500% more than the average rainfall, I believe no policy planning can stand tall towards that particular crisis that we face. It is a partial factor. I believe that we need to work towards this. But if you see at the larger picture, I believe the world needs to come out and the world needs to come up with global solutions that prevent such catastrophes from happening across the globe, especially in Pakistan.
So you are saying it's a
Definitely. You need to have the international community, you need to have the support of the civil community, you need to have the support of the corporations, and you need to have a policy that is all encompassing. And apart from this, we need to come up and ensure that we prevent deforestation and other matters that make it more intensive. So we see that climate change is a stress multiplier. It is a stress multiplier, and unless and until the international community reacts to it and comes up with proper solutions, I believe that we will continue to face this particular crisis.
So as you have mentioned all the reasons, so what is that particular reason if it reoccurs? So how to avoid or tackle the crisis?
So firstly, I believe that we need to have a climate resilient infrastructure.
Okay.
And in order to have a climate resilient infrastructure, Pakistani government estimates that it needs 7 to 14 billion dollars every year until 2050. So you can, by this number, you can realize the amount that needs to be spent in order to tackle this. But in the short run, I believe we need to come up with policies to ensure that we minimize deforestation. And this particular matter of the floods in Pakistan needs to be taken up in the COP27 that will be held in under 2 months in Egypt. So we need to come up with proper planning at the national level, and it needs to corroborate with the policies at the international level. In the short run, I believe that these are the only possible solutions that we can do. And we need to ensure as a community, as a society, that we minimize our carbon footprint. Unless and until we continue burning our fossil fuels and we continue with the lifestyle that we are already living, climate change is a reality, and floods and erratic rainfall patterns are here to stay.
Yes, sir. So don't you think the government, stakeholders, all the state authorities should do something? Execution of laws?
Yes, definitely. I mean, the policies that need to be there.
Yeah.
But
so with ultimate check and balance and laws in action, we should apply these.
Yes, definitely. I mean, they can come up with policies, but you see, the magnitude of the devastation is so large that you cannot entirely shift the blame to the government or to the society or to the state machinery. This is a calamity that requires a multi-pronged approach. You can only expect a government to react the way it already did in the limited resources, and everything that they could do has been done. So I would not say that it has been a weak response from our state. Our state has reacted as it could, but we need to ensure that the countries that are responsible for the emissions, so Pakistan is amongst the 10 most affected countries, and our greenhouse gas emissions is almost negligible. So how can you say that we should be the one responsible for preventing floods when it is the developed world that is causing this? So Pakistan needs to be taken as an example for the world to ensure that climate policies are enacted and to prevent a catastrophe like this where around 40 million people are displaced. And you can imagine what 40 million people is. It's a huge number, and the scenes on the television screens, they are scary, and it is a nightmare for anyone living anywhere across the world.
Thank you very much, Sir Sajeel. I hope you would grace us new.
Thank you so much for having me.
Goodbye, viewers. See you in the next episode. I am Allaiba Saleem from Panacea, CSS PMS Multan.